The business plan for the coming year has to strike a balance between the work that we fully expect we will be doing on Brexit. We've obviously already started the work on Brexit, and our other strategic priorities. And this year, more than ever, we've had to strike a pretty careful balance because we know that Brexit's going to be, in many ways, the biggest thing that we're going to be involved in. But there are still quite a lot of uncertainties about timing and in some cases also substance. That's, I think, narrowing down now. So we've had to construct a business plan that strikes a careful balance, and also we recognise that we will have to be more flexible during the year. Well, there's a very important piece of work which we're well advanced on now, which is the work that's necessary to put all the withdrawal legislation into place, and particularly to make our rule book fit and operational on the first day of Brexit. And that's a very big piece of work which we're obviously doing with the government and will continue to take forward. Secondly, very large amount of work to ensure that what I tend to call the sort of so-called cliff edge risks that could materialise in a transition, we're well planned with and well advanced with actions that will mitigate those. And that requires a lot of coordination with regulators in the European Union. We still have a very large business as usual, as well as Brexit, agenda. I think that some of the things that I would highlight in that are the work that we already have well underway on high cost credit, bringing that to fruition. And that's a number of pieces of work. It's not one piece of work because there are a number of sectors, if you like, of the high cost credit market. Very important work on pensions. Again, some big pieces of work that we've got well underway and will be bringing to fruition. And those surround the whole question of pension advice, our role particularly in the defined contribution pension area. Well, culture is very important to us. It's one of the absolutely fundamental building blocks of conduct supervision, in my view, and we will be taking that forward. Big piece of work over the next year will be, in a sense, bringing again, I hope, to implementation the extension of the senior managers regime from banks to the rest of our population. And of course, with 50-odd thousand firms, the vast majority of them are not banks. So when I say extending to the rest of our population, this is obviously a big piece of work. But the senior managers regime really embeds responsibility, accountability. It embeds the principles that we think are fundamental in terms of what we as a regulator can do in the area of culture. And that will support the work that we do on governance as supervisors, the work we do on remuneration. So over the next year, we will be continuing the work on Innovate and Sandbox. I think one of the most exciting announcements there has been recently where we're seeking to extend the Sandbox to a more global concept. We've already got a number of agreements with other authorities in other countries, and the opportunity to extend that and give people the opportunity to test and develop innovations and ideas in more than one market is, I think, exciting. Secondly, big area of work for us, of course, is cyber on the risk front. And this is important because this is the risk that never stands still. It's constantly evolving, constantly developing, and we have to not only be on top of those developments, but also obviously ensure that the protections that are needed for, again, to meet our statutory objectives, the understanding of firms, the protections that firms have in place are, in a sense, constantly, up to speed as the threat evolves. So that's a constant priority for us and will be. And then thirdly, I'd single out that there are areas of innovation which again involve technology where we're actively involved in the assessment. And if I pick out one, I would say crypto assets would be the case in point. Chancellor announced recently there's going to be a task force of the Treasury, the FCA and the Bank of England to look at this. And I think that's appropriate because that will have to ask important questions about what is the right boundary for our regulatory perimeter and our regulatory activity. International cooperation is very important for us, always has been. I think in a world as we look forward to a world post-Brexit, it's even more important, and we've emphasised this since the referendum. It's very important we don't become isolationist, isolated. It's not our intention. And so engaging in, as we do in the Financial Stability Board, in IOSCO, in their work, in global work, is important because Many of our core objectives, and particularly those in wholesale markets, are essentially global objectives because these are global markets.